Hello students, I am Sanjay Shukla. Vipul Purohit sir is a very close friend of mine and also he's been teaching on inorganic chemistry for the past 22 years. He's an awesome teacher. Please like, share, subscribe his channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Thank you.
Hello my dear friends. So now I welcome you for the second part of the preparation of tris, acetyl acetonato ion. In the first part, I have explained to you the theoretical background of this particular experiment. And I told you, in the second part of the video, I will actually demonstrate how the different steps are executed. And after that, I am also going to explain you the calculation with respect to the determination of percentage yield. So here we go my dear friends. The first step, if you can recollect, the given quantity of ferric chloride is to be considered. So here you can see it's a given quantity of ferric chloride. Now we are going to dissolve it in minimum quantity of water. So here I have water. So before that I will transfer this FeCl3 in the beaker. The entire quantity of FeCl3 has to be transferred in the beaker. If there is some part of it, please we can wash it, so as to make sure that each and every particle gets transferred, because you know very well it's a quantitative analysis, so weight plays a very important role. Now we are going to just stir it in order to dissolve it. So this is FeCl3, the step number 1, which we are dissolving in minimum quantity of water. Now what are we doing is step number 2, and that is we are going to convert this FeCl3 into FeOH thrice. Okay, the ferric hydroxide. Remember my dear friends, ferric hydroxide is more stable than ferrous hydroxide. Okay, and I hope you understand the difference between ferric and ferrous. So ferrous is in the +2 state, ferric is in the +3 state. Okay, and that is the reason we are using the ferric salt rather than the ferrous salt. Okay, now how to convert this ferric chloride into ferric hydroxide, FeOH thrice? And that is very simple way is we are going to convert this by making use of KOH. So I have already prepared 1 normal of KOH, that is potassium hydroxide solution. And just a small information regarding this is, whenever we talk about 1 normal, so it is 1 equivalent weight of a substance which is dissolved in 1 liter. That is going to give you 1 normal solution. So as far as KOH is concerned, okay, because it is going to contain only 1 OH minus, so whatever is its molar mass, that is its equivalent mass also. Potassium atomic mass is going to be 39, oxygen is 16 and hydrogen is 1, and therefore total comes out to be how much? 56. So 56 grams of KOH, when I dissolve in 1 liter, I get what? 1 normal solution. Okay, this is a basic information. But of course, you need to now play around with the values depending upon the quantity of KOH you require. I don't require over here 1 liter of KOH. Then why necessarily we need to waste chemicals? So whatever is required according to you modify. Okay, so suppose I want to prepare only 100 ml of KOH. Then instead of taking 56 grams, I will be taking 5.6 grams. Okay, so you get at the end of the day 1 normal. Okay, understood this? How to prepare the solutions? Alright. Now, here for this particular experiment, I require around say 30 ml of KOH. So very slowly, I will be adding the KOH with constant stirring into this beaker, which contains what? Yes, ferric chloride. So very slowly we need to add it, step by step. Now see, at the point of contact, you can just check there is a formation of a PPT taking place. A reddish brown coloration PPT is being formed, and this is an indication that ferric chloride is getting converted into what? Ferric hydroxide. So around say 30 ml of KOH, potassium hydroxide, has to be added into this. very slowly with constant stirring. Now the reaction is very simple, my dear friends, and that is, we had initially ferric chloride and then we are adding into it KOH. So it results in the precipitate of ferric hydroxide, and at the same time we have a side product also. And what is that side product is? Yes, it is going to be what? KCl. And KCl is water soluble, my dear friends. So as a result of which you can see over here, there is a precipitate as well as a clear solution. The clear solution is KCl and the precipitate is ferric hydroxide. So once you can see this, the precipitation formation has taken place, the reddish brown coloration. Now we keep it as it is for some time so as to settle down. So what happens is all the particles of ferric hydroxide will come together, okay, and it is going to settle down. And you get a clear solution at the top. So that clear solution is what? KCl. So that we will decant that solution. Decant means what? We don't want KCl over here. We are only interested in what? Ferric hydroxide. So the upper clear portion which is there, which we also call it as a supernatant solution, so that we are going to decant. But my dear friends, first we will allow this precipitate to stand, to keep it as it is for some time, so that, as I said, all the particles of ferric hydroxide precipitate settles down and you get a clear solution, supernatant solution of KCl. Now my dear friends, you can see we have a clear solution, that is supernatant solution at the top, and the precipitate is going to be settled at the bottom. So what we need to do is, the solution which is going to be at the top is technically called as supernatant solution. Okay, it is called as what? Supernatant solution. So we are going to decant that. So the best way of decanting is when we are going to be at the initial stage. Rather than doing it directly, I prefer to do it very slowly, and that is by making use of what? A dropper. Very, very slowly, through the help of the dropper, we are going to, this way, we are going to decant the solution. Making sure that the tip of the dropper is always in contact with the supernatant solution. It doesn't come in contact with the precipitate. Now my dear friends, see, the solution is being decanted. Now we have a precipitate only of FeOH thrice, and this is the decant solution, the supernatant solution, which is absolutely clear. If you want the chemical composition of this, then the chemical composition of this clear solution is KCl, whereas this is going to be the precipitate of FeOH thrice. Also, one more thing I want to show you over here is, I'm adding KOH into this. Small amount of KOH into this, and see this, you are not getting the PPT. Okay, this is very clear indication that the entire amount of Fe is in the form of the precipitate ferric hydroxide. If there had been some amount of Fe in this, then on addition of KOH, it would have given me a PPT. Okay, so this is one confirmation. Okay, so this is the way the decanting is being done. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to add water into this. Okay, small amount of water, and once again we are going to repeat the same procedure. Okay, so that we make sure that the precipitate is clean from the impurities. So here we start. Now what we'll do is, we'll be adding some amount of water into this. I will stir the solution. And allow it to stand as it is, as we have done previously, for some time, and we will be decanting the solution. Okay, now one more thing which I want to explain to you, my dear friends, and that is, if you can see on the sides of the beaker, the brownish particles are going to be there. Okay, so if that happens, then with the help of a water, okay, which is being taken in a dropper, please add it on the sides. Don't stir it, please. Okay, through the sides of the walls of the beaker. you can just add it. So as a result of which, what happens is the entire particles will come in contact with the ferric hydroxide precipitate. Now we'll go for the decanting part. This is now only water. Now see, what we are going to do is, the solution you can see very well, the supernatant solution at the top. Now bring it to the eye level and tilt the beaker. Now can you see, we get a greater volume, okay, of the supernatant solution. Now the dropper tip, if you can see, I am just bringing it in contact. This way. Understood this? Once again, you can see the tip of the dropper I am bringing in contact, and I am getting a greater volume of that. So my dear friends, you can see now the washing is being done with water and we have decanted. This is the supernatant solution. It's absolutely clear. Okay, I'm going to add some amount of KOH just to make sure that there is no precipitation taking place. Here it is. Okay, can you see any precipitate? No. So it is very clear that the entire amount of Fe, whatever we have, that is here in the form of ferric hydroxide. Okay, so this process has to be done twice with distilled water. Okay, and I have done it twice. And now what we do is we proceed for the filtration. We have to filter this precipitate on a Buchner funnel through Whatman filter paper 41. So here we go. So now we proceed for the filtration process through Buchner funnel. The filter paper, that is Whatman filter paper number 1, is already on this. We need to give some washings to this precipitate. With water. This is the precipitate. This is not the final product, my dear friends. Please remember, our final product is with acetyl acetone. This is, initially we are doing it with ferric hydroxide. Okay, so you can see now the beaker is absolutely clean. So the entire particles of ferric hydroxide are being transferred onto this Whatman filter paper 1. So you can see now, my dear friends, the filtration process is done. Okay, have a look at it. Now what we do is, we very slowly take this precipitate and keep it on the normal filter paper so that it will absorb the water. Okay, so that it becomes easy for us to transfer this PPT into the beaker. Now with the help of this spatula, we will transfer this PPT of ferric hydroxide very slowly into the beaker. This is the way we need to transfer it, the entire PPT. So you can see this, the entire transfer of precipitate is being done through the spatula and workman paper. Now what we do is, the next step is, this precipitate has to be kept on what? Ice bath. Okay, so we keep it on the ice bath. Now, very slowly, acetyl acetone. Okay, this is going to be what? The ligand, acetyl acetone. This is Fe. Now we are slowly and steadily going towards the formation of the final complex. So, with the help of a glass rod, very slowly we are going to add acetyl acetone into this. Precipitate of Fe hydroxide, ferric hydroxide, and we are going to stir it. You can see slowly and slowly shiny red crystals are being developed, but it will take time. The cooling process with stirring should be for around 20 to 25 minutes. My dear friends, you can see now this shiny red crystals you will be getting after keeping it in the ice bath. What we do now next is, we are going to carry out the filtration through workman filter paper 1. Now we will be giving some washings to the beaker so as to ensure all the particles of the complex, this acetyl acetonate ion, gets transferred. Washings are being done. You can see this beaker is absolutely clear now, and you can also check out, see this, the shiny red crystals of our complex. Okay, now we proceed towards the drying process, whereby we will be carrying out the drying process by means of vacuum desiccator. So now very slowly what are we going to do is take hold of this workman paper. We'll put it on the watch glass, and that we are going to put it in a vacuum desiccator for drying purpose. So my dear friends, after the filtration part is done, we now move on to the drying process. The drying has to be carried out by making use of a vacuum desiccator. So here we have a vacuum desiccator. So we'll very slowly open it. We are going to place our complex inside this. Once again, we need to cover it. And we'll start the vacuum, and this is the way we will start with the vacuum drying. Now the compound is dried by making use of a vacuum desiccator. So what we do is we very slowly scrap it, and we are going to put it in the watch glass, and we will transfer all of these into the watch glass and go for the final weighing. So my dear friends, you can see this. I have collected the entire particles of the complex into this watch glass, and final part now, what is remaining is, yes, that is the weight of this, and this weight is going to give me what? The actual yield, and then I will explain you the entire calculation part. Okay, my dear friends, so once we have done with the practical demonstration, we now go into the next point of this particular experiment. Of course, this is the last point, and that is the calculations. So I'll explain you the calculations. Please have a look at it. Initially, we have taken ferric chloride 6H2, if you remember. Okay, then we converted into hydroxide, and then we converted into the complex, that is acetyl acetate. So, as far as the stoichiometric proportion is concerned, I will be showing how the theoretical yield is being calculated. Observed yield, we have already got it. Okay, and then we go into the formula for the percentage. So here we start, and that is, first of all, my dear friends, the 270.35 grams is the molar mass of ferric chloride along with 6 water molecules. And that is going to correspond to 355.85 grams of our complex, which is FeAcAc thrice. Okay, that is tris acetyl acetonatone ion. Now, the given quantity, if you remember, I told you the given quantity of FeCl3, that is more important, and that was how much? 0.6 grams was given to us. Okay, the W value will be always provided to you. So, the value which I am giving you over here, the W value, that is the weight of the ferric chloride which was initially given, was 0.6 grams. So, 0.6 grams of FeCl3 will correspond to how much? So, simple, it's cross multiplication. So, cross multiplication gives you 355.85 into 0.6 divided by 270.35. Okay, so once you calculate this, you are going to get as 0.7896. And my dear friends, this 0.7896 is what? Yes, the theoretical yield. Now coming to the observed yield, whatever I practically demonstrated, and finally I show you the shiny red crystals on the watch glass. So that comes out to be the observed yield, and that is 0.497 grams. Okay, that was the observed yield which we got. So once we know the observed yield, once we know the theoretical yield, now it's very simple. We just put it down into that particular formula, if you can remember, and you get the final result, and that is percentage yield. So the formula goes is percentage yield is equal to the observed yield, or what we call it as the actual yield, divided by the theoretical yield, and because it is in terms of percentage, so the factor which will come out to be what is 100. So we have got both the values, so just substitute that. So what we have is 0.497 divided by 0.7896, which you multiply by 100, alright? Which you multiply by what? 100. So that is going to give me 62.94. Okay, this is what is my final result. The percentage yield is 62.94. Now my dear friends, the simple part is, because here we are saying already percentage yield, so please don't need to go for over here also percentage. So percentage yield is 62%. No. Percentage yield is just a numerical value that you need to put it out in your final result, and that is 62.94. Okay, and this is, my dear friends, the final part of this experiment. I hope you have all understood this. You have also liked it as I liked it presenting in front of you. Thank you so very much.